Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to your lighting critique. So today I am going to go through, we got a bunch of images to get through and a few videos here. So we'll start with the videos. I want to start off here with Alfredo's. This looks great. My initial out of the gate reaction was I thought this all looked nice and integrated well. There are a few things I like that the effect at the end. You can really feel the beam coming out of the creature's from out of his belly. I think that's really cool. The biggest thing for you to work on, well, there's a couple things. One, I mean, there's some noise here in the fog effect. That's totally fine. Just something to look into. The other one that I want to talk about is the black points on some of these, because like the contrast levels are really, really high. Like looking in some of these areas and on the character himself, like especially when he's further back away from camera, I would be fine with it if the contrast increases a step closer. But like seeing this level of darkness as he's kind of far away from the camera, because that would really help kind of sell the scale of it a little bit, I think would be really good. So just and that might be in the post process. If it is, I would roll back on your contrast and go ahead and add some more value into your black points, just a little bit more. I know it was the style to have more of a matte look to this, but I just feel like when I see this large swath area here, I would just expect a little bit more of like, there's a little bit of specular light coming in here, and it would just be nice if there was just some more specular shaping in there. If you don't want to, that's totally fine. Just my thought there. And then I'm wondering, because it's daytime, the inside of the mouth feels pretty simple, and I'm wondering if we can get some more detailed, like a detailed texture on the tongue and maybe underneath here, just because this feels a little simple once he opens his mouth. The eyes look really good. Yeah, the integration with everything looks really good. I think it's just those few things, but yeah, really, really strong progress there. All right, Dani. This next iteration, contact with the ground looks good. This shadow got a little bit on the dark side here, and so I would. There we go. I feel like this has gotten a little bit darker, maybe not, but I would consider looking into that. Still feel like the fence is a little on the dingy side as opposed, and with the whites on the building, again, bright sunny day, hitting white elements, I feel like they would just be much brighter. But that's pretty much it. And then the other, you've got some nice aerial perspective back there that's starting to come together well. But yeah, white points, maybe lifting that shadow. And then let's move inside. We can take a look at that. And then yes, yeah, we can go from there. I was just about to say, I wonder if we can get some more feeling of sunlight on her in here, like pushing her brightness a little bit stronger. But yeah, maybe we can hold off until we see the contrast. If you plan on lighting the interior too, it would be nice to see how this plays with those two. Or if you're, going to shoot the shot before or light the shot before to show that you can show a couple shots together. We can go from there. But I think this is at a pretty good spot right now. Just keep pushing the whites. And yeah, watch out for that shadow. So good job there. All right, Kat, looking at this camera move. The only thing I would say about the camera move is that it still feels a little bit like a 1-2. Like it feels like this is our one move moving in, and then all of a sudden we start to rotate. I'm wondering if we can blend that all together into one move. Like here, it's already starting to kind of rotate around the side, as opposed to like zooming, like rolling directly at the character until we hit a point and then shifting to the left, like kind of infusing that all together. Additionally, there's a couple of little places like this island here, and then there's some crazy noisy stuff up in there too. Not a big deal, but just something to be aware of as you're going forward. When you go to final render, you're going to have to figure out what's going on in these couple places and help alleviate those problems. What could be happening here is penetration, because it looks like, like I'm looking at some places where some geometry is penetrating. You can see it. It looks like it's happening over here too, with that leaf inside of that tree. And that can cause some strangeness too, like the way that there's like a hard line through there. that doesn't feel like a shadow as much as maybe it's penetrating something. So just keep like, you know, these ferns up here. So just, you might want to do a pass of just kind of going around your set and making sure that we have limited amounts of interpenetration of geometry there. In terms of the look of this, we'll talk about that in the still. Let's go ahead. Actually, let's just go ahead and hop into that now. So looking at this still, I think we can definitely push the brightness level. Again, bright sunny day, you want to feel that brightness. So just by looking at the levels, you can see that we've got you know, it's all in the lower half here. So we can like really just push this into this region. Oh, and one thing I wanted to say too about this was look at the brightness level on the ground around her versus up front here. This is a in terms of the relationship, I want to see this level of brightness more back over here, because right now my eye is being drawn to here and I should be looking back over there. You know what I mean? So just something to be aware of there. So yeah, so like this level of brightness to really kind of get it to start to push in there. Bounce levels are looking a lot better. But yeah, let's really start to feel that in, and then we can start to add some diffusion to it. We mentioned offline about adding some displacement to the water to get more of the highlights to read on that. But yeah, let's start there and we'll go from there. And Clarissa, yours didn't upload correctly there. Okay, but I got it now. All right. So you were asking about the saturation. I think the saturation looks really great. I think that's right on point. I mean, there's a couple parts like right in here where it gets a little bit much, but like overall, I think it's really, really, really good. The one area that I would, oh, it's interesting. I was going to say like, because it's interesting the way that the sun is behaving. And I don't know much about Unreal yet. Because like I would expect this to be a little bit brighter, but the contrast between that versus when we see it at the glancing reflection is pretty profound. Like, because I wouldn't want to go much. I guess that's more about the reflection, but I think that the light coming out of it can go brighter. And then what I would do is, because I do think that in some, so you're going to push the sunlight a little bit brighter. If you could add a little bit more like bounce into some of these areas where there is more sunlight, more like secondary light, because that would that's kind of one of the things that happens in nature is like in a pocket like this. So it's like we've got this pocket of key light hitting the ground here. In the areas right around it, there would be more light bouncing up underneath. So like you'd see a little bit more underneath the leaves just in the area directly around that sunny patch. And then if there's a way to get more specular highlights on some of these leaves, again, I don't know if that's possible in Unreal. Just because leaves like this, and you can see some reference in the lighting chat, the leaves are a little bit, they're thicker, waxier, all that good stuff, and you'd see a little bit more of that specular highlight in there. And then just looking at this from there's a weird thing on the first few frames where it looks like some stuff starts to move and then other stuff doesn't. I don't know what that is. Which is something to be aware of there. So it might just be a matter of starting this on frame. Let's see. Let's take a look. So do you see like just watch right? Oh, just watch right in there. Let's see. How do I do that again? Right. So like watch right in there. See how that kind of like slips away, and then we start moving. So it would just be a matter of maybe just start the shot here at frame like 35 instead. But yeah, really beautiful stuff overall. This is very, very impressive. I'm definitely liking this a lot. So really great start. All right, so you know what? We'll start right here in the middle and we'll go forward. K. This is cool. This is it's an abstract representation of this image that we were seeing. It looks really nice. I like that you're utilizing the specular values in this. This glowiness behind us is really cool. It's a little tight around the edge. It would be nice if it was a little bit bigger It's just creating some visual vibration by, like, especially up here, the way, because it's like there's a bright halo that kind of cuts off through there and then goes around down here. So I would just push out that influence a little bit more. And then it looks like on this front here, it's reflecting some red values, and I think that's really cool. But it would be nice if there was just like a little, I don't know, like a little hint of that in the foreground here, the way that we're seeing it kind of back there. Just because it feels like it's reflecting something red off camera behind us, but I'm not getting any sort of sense of that in the lighting coming in here. But overall, really good, really strong. Love the setup here. Millet, welcome to the group. This is a great shot to use for this exercise. I always like to, your breakdown was perfect. You were spot on with the things. I love like the central balance of it. The character's right in the middle of the scene, and also just like inside of this kind of perfect triangle here, just like living right there in this like very stable composition. And then, but the other two things that I want to point out. Number one is the camera angle, where we've got like this god bird's eye view of the scene. Whenever I see that in a film or in a shot, I always think that that's a metaphor for like stepping back and taking in the overall scene as a whole, as opposed to the individual action. So obviously, something bad has gone down here, and just like taking a step back and either looking at it from a larger perspective, like a godlike perspective, or just kind of taking that into the overall scene, like how does this affect the overall world? So this is kind of like a stepping back type of a camera placement, which is really cool. And then the second step is the level of brightness and darkness on the two characters. So obviously, like all the focus is here because like all the shaping is here, all the light is here. This character's completely occluded in shadow, which not only draws the eye down here, but it also paints a picture of good and evil as well. Like, I don't know anything about this scene or like what's actually going on, but it feels like this person in the light as the victim of something that was possibly done by this person. I only say that because it looks like there's a gun in this hand. But the contrast between the two is really, really profound, and it's really, really cool. So thank you for sharing this. This is really nice. All right, Rebecca. So looking good. I like the values on the character. And the next thing that I'm going to have you look into is totally a unique problem with the Mr. Bean asset. And not a problem, just like an inherent thing about him, is that he's got these super kind of marble eyeballs. And you see how like there's like brightness there, and then it kind of fades off, and like there's a lot of light to dark fall off in the sclera actually. So I would encourage you either in the comp or in the shader to just reduce that contrast and make it more of a nice smooth eye, like the way that like if you're looking at JoJo's there, it's just like a nice smooth more toned down version of that. All right, Tristan. So a couple new references here for you. Love the 2001 underlighting reference and the Lion King reference with these lines and these diagonals going through. It would be really cool to insert those diagonal lines a little more strongly. Not quite sure if you're planning on doing that, and if that's just like something you haven't gotten to yet. But like getting those really, really strong, stark diagonal lines on the back. And you mentioned something about doing that with the tentacles. I'm not 100% sure, so if you could elaborate a little more for the next time you post, that would be helpful. The one thing you want to watch out for is the combination of the cool blue light on his warm red skin tone. It's going to flush out, and we're going to lose that redness. It's not like inherently bad or anything. It's just something to be aware of. You can see here this underlight's actually very neutral in tone. It's just white light. So if you wanted to do that, you get more of the reds on the skin tone. But if this is more the look that you want, that's totally fine too. It's just more of a matter of being aware of that. Overall, I do, because again, like if we look at this, like all the values are living on the lower end of the range. It would be nice, like this is crunchy, but to get even more like value on the octopus here. Even if it is just that bounce light, which I think is shaping up much better. But like if we push that a little brighter, I just tone this? Or maybe something a little along those lines. Maybe a little bit strong. Something a little bit more in that value range, and then we can start to adjust the eyes a little bit because the eyes are starting to look a little bit bright there. And then when you have reflections on the eyes like this, you want to kind of keep them up away from the pupil sclera, especially when they're that small, because you've only got a little area to read that stuff. But yeah, and then and the last thing, the red kicks on here are really nice. It just I'm not like, you would have to make this feel brighter in order to motivate that a little bit stronger. So I would, you can do that in another iteration, but like really make that exit strong, like nice and bright and red, and have it hit some of these other areas in here. Could be pretty cool. All right, Will, this looks great. The only thing I would do, and this is a preference thing, I would consider just warming up the character slightly. Let's see. And again, this is more about if you want him to read this way over the coolness. But like just warming him up a little bit to that level to get him to pop off the background. So now he falls into the category of like these warmer tones. And then I like the Big Ben over here, but I think I would tone down the fill light on that, just because like the difference between the amount of light that's hitting Big Ben versus the other building over here almost looks like the U.S. Capitol, but I guess that's Buckingham Palace, maybe. I'm not sure, but either way, this is more. I like the fill level of this, where this one feels a little bit brighter. But yeah, I think the character looks great. I would just warm him up and then take one final pass at adding some more specularity into his body and wings to try and really like make it feel like that nice bat leatheriness. Adrian, this looks great. 2 things for you to work on. 1, eyes, 2, hair. Eyes are much better than they were in the last iteration. The sclera looks great. The pupil looks great. The iris looks bright a little bit. Just to pull that back a little bit. But the shaping is there. Everything is there. For the hair, it's all about it being a little bit dusty. And by that, I mean, it just feels like there could be more contrast. Like there's a lot of gray values in here. So it's just a matter of pushing a little more saturation, a little more contrast in there. So it just doesn't feel like it's got some dust particles in there. But overall, really, really good. Amit, this looks really nice too. I love the shaping you're getting on the face is spot on. I would like for you to do one more pass too of trying to see if you can get some more specularity in here. Especially on the fill side. Key side looks pretty good. But I think a little bit more of a specular highlights in here is going to be your jam for the next iteration. All right, Dani, is looking better all the time. Progress has been good. My one question looking at this to try for the next iteration is, and this kind of came up with this bench and like how much light it's getting from back behind. Same thing with these. I was wondering, like especially these yellow tic-tac-toe guys, like they really feel like they're being frontally lit, but we can see the light source of the sun back here. So wouldn't all of like this side of this stuff be in a little bit more darkness, or like this side? So I would try, and if you have a fill light on there, try toning that down to really kind of feel the background. Like really kind of feel the backlight of this a little bit stronger, and create a little more contrast with what's behind. For this one, I think we can push stronger on the key light. So you can take this. I feel like that can go a little bit brighter to the point where some of those rays can start to kind of clip off as they come in. And like by clip off, I mean just get so bright they're kind of blown out. And then there's a little bit of like redness in the crown. I would just pull that out a little bit. And yeah, I would start for that. And then next up, I would do a nice specular pass of just like reflective light on the bricks and everything, and try and and then I would add that in the comp a little bit just to get a little bit of like moisture, specular highlight, dewiness on the brick, because like they always have a little bit of moisture trapped in there. That is going to give it a little bit of specular highlight. All right, Horje. So very colorful as always. Very cool reference. I think that the number one thing for this iteration or for the next iteration would be to help focus in a little bit. So we've got these little vignettes being played out around the scene. It would be great for you to use your lighting to help us isolate the few that we're supposed to see. It's just right now it's kind of being universally lit a little bit stronger. And let's take a look at your reference to see what I mean. Like, so we're really focusing on this character here because all the other characters are either darker or in the kind of monotone in value. Obviously there's different colors going on, but like nothing super bright is back here on any of the characters, but there is a lot of brightness right here on this woman in the foreground. So that really helps us focus in. In this shot, we can tell that these areas in here are more in shadow and less important, while these are our focal point. So I think it's a matter of, you know, like if you're looking at the wood, it's all kind of similar in value except for these a couple of these brighter spots, but like I just don't feel like the brighter spots are that much different or special in a way. Like, should I be seeing these guys on top of this? Like, is it important to see all them, or is it better to kind of put those into more darkness and really kind of focus on this region? Yeah, so it's really just a matter of creating more dark values in the areas that you don't necessarily want people looking, and really using the brighter values of these kind of spotlights to help tell that story. And then additionally, at some point, like the way that we can kind of see the source spotlights in some of these shots too, it would be cool to, like, I don't know, see the spotlight the way that you would in a party. Like, they're always kind of omnipresent on the perimeter of the party. Right. Oh, and Jordan. Yeah, I think this is looking really good. I want to see two things. One, I want to see more influence from this on the wall a little bit. I think having it from like this point onward and keeping this cool back behind him here would still work out really well. And then I think we can go brighter with our element here, just because like some of the values that we're seeing on the hand are actually brighter than the core element itself. Like, I'm not convinced that this thing is emitting this light. You know what I mean? Because it's a little bit, it would be brighter than any of the light that it emits. And then for your blue kick fill rim light, this feels again like a small light source, which is fine. Like if it's more of a reflection of the moon or something small, that's cool. But like if it's more skyness, then you probably want this to read out just a little bit more. And then in terms of this value, I think we've talked about this before, but it's either a matter of it's just like his ear just kind of feels a little dead. So I'm wondering if with this light coming here, if it's actually hitting his ear, it could give it just like a little touch of warmth in there. That might actually help out a lot. But yeah, I think this is looking good. And then you know, with this hitting the wall, it would just create a little bit more shaping on that back wall. It's nice and dark, and we're reading the character, but it is a little bit flat, and it would be nice to get a little more variation on there. All right, so I think that is, we talked about Cat, and that's where we started the go-round. Okay, great. So that's all for today. If you guys have any questions at all, please reach out to me and let me know, and I look forward to seeing what you got tomorrow. All right, happy lighting, everybody.